This is Enshrouded, a beautiful voxel-based survival game packed full of quests, monsters, base building, and of course, the Shroud. A plague spreading across the lands, destroying all it touches. And that's where we come in. We are Flame, brought back into the world of Embervale by the flame, yes, a literal flame, that wants us to build a shelter from the dark. So pretty much make the best base we possibly can, giving the survivors of this world a new hope. This is where my 50-hour adventure begins. And after a typical tutorial on how the basics work, we have gathered some loot and killed our first few enemies. But also had our first run-in with the Shroud. And when you venture into this fog, this timer comes up. And if this timer hits 0, well, you guessed it. But with that out of the way, the game actually begins. Now we can venture out wherever we wish, with the trusty flame as our guide. And of course, the first thing we do is kill more enemies, finding ourselves a beefy mace in our first chest, which I'm sure we'll use later. But for now, we better get to building that first flame altar, which we obviously get instantly distracted from. Sorry, attention span of a goldfish here, but we do get a nice level up for it, so it's not that bad. But now actually back to base building. First, we need an axe, so we can go gather some wood. Then we can finally put down the flame altar, and the flame takes no time telling us there's other survivors in the area who we need to save. So, another quest. But we need to at least build a basic house first, right? And the survivors can wait. After some resource grinding and some late night monster fighting, we have our first base. I mean, it's not much to look at, but it's okay. We also added a small fire so we can cook up a store. But no rest for the wicked. We still barely have any items to craft, so straight back out and over to the local ruins to scavenge anything we can find. Finding a few chests with pretty much nothing in, but we do get a bunch of raw materials that we'll need for some of the crafting later. And speaking of crafting, we make a bed, some storage, and some nice new windows. Then decide to knock a huge hole in our wall and put a massive window down, as who needs safety, right? Anyways, now we've sorted out our base, we should probably look towards our first quest, and decide to opt out of the meaty mace from earlier and try out some nice little daggers. Then finally realizing I never actually leveled up earlier, so put our first point into better mining, as I'm sure I'll be doing tons of this in the future. But before heading out, we kit ourselves out with our new homeless armor, whatever good this will do, but we are ready to go. Just one more objective first. We need more spores to get our first game-changing equipment, the grappling hook. And there's one place I know we'll get what we need, in the massive foggy valley next to us. So we jump down and get to work, killing as many as we can, and getting exactly what we're after. And after a swift escape, we're back at home, and now to craft the grappling hook. Then we're ready to get this quest going, heading out and going over the bridge to the new area, with some pretty creepy noises underneath. That was a creepy noise, but we'll ignore that for now. But using our new grappling hook, we swing our way across the bridge, reaching the other side, and also reaching some new enemies too. But they're no match for our trusty daggers. Pushing closer to our quest, just a few more enemies and a few more chests to loot, then there's one enemy standing between us and our other survivor, and he falls like the rest. Then we wake the blacksmith. His name is Oswald, but we need the summoning staff first, so decide to bolt home and summon him there. And after he semi-insults us, we find out that he can craft a lot more gear, including some dubious armor and equipment. But first, we're going to need to stock up on a lot of metal. And luckily, Oswald tells us exactly where we have to look. So we head out again, firstly finding some new material, flint, which is just too satisfying to collect. Then we get introduced to our first higher level enemies, which still, to be honest, weren't too bad. And then also get a quick introduction to a worrying item, the typical explosive barrel. Just got to hope we don't blow ourselves up with this at some point. Carrying on, we spot a building in the distance, but we're pretty close to the metal location, so exploration will have to wait. And of course, the location with the metal has bunches of enemies lurking around, so time to get to work. And after a bunch of fighting and looting, we are gathering a fair bit of resources with an added bonus of a new weapon, the mighty bow, which is very useful for setting off these explosive barrels. And speaking of explosive barrels, I started realizing you could just easily break down objects to get materials. You just have to make sure you don't hit the wrong ones. Oh, I saw it last second. Yep, I knew I'd do that at some point. And after a quick run back, we recover our items, finish off the scavengers, and break down anything we can for more metal. And then discover a lovely feature, the fast travel. Thank God I don't have to run everywhere. Almost like clockwork, Oswald grants us another quest, to go and cleanse the elixir well nearby. So we kit ourselves out with Oswald's new armor and a very useful backpack. We did also try to make the glider, but we need some more shroudwood first, which I imagine will get where we're going. For now, let's go. And it seems like they knew we were coming because there was a bunch of whatever these guys are waiting for us, which ended up pretty messy, but we lived. And after exploring for a bit and getting ambushed by some bugs, we found a tower in the shroud that could actually let us breathe good air for once. But more importantly, we found our target, the elixir well, which we instantly get to work fighting our way through, even encountering some new enemies, but we survive victorious, with the reward of a nice new ring to use. But before we have a chance to look, I realise we forgot completely about the literal ticking clock of death above us. So we bolt to the tower we just found, making it out the shroud by the skin of our teeth. Okay, need to be more vigilant about this next time. And of course, on our way back, we find that there was a checkpoint literally next to where we were that could have saved our lives. Typical. But now to throw on our new swanky ring, giving us an extra 20 health and a +1 to health regen. Nice. Next task, the boss, which surprisingly I completely destroyed. And I got a bunch of new items from, including a new weapon, but for now, we need to deal with the Shroud root, which I imagine is the root of all evil. Get it? The root? Okay, moving on. Which we can't destroy unless we have a felling axe, which I guess is an axe I'll have to get from the blacksmith. So back to base for now, and grabbing the extra resources as we go, which allows us to build the glider. Then it's time to take a little nap because, let's be honest, I think we've earned it. And with the next day, we can start thinking about what's next. Which, to be honest, I would love to be moving our base. I can tell now we're going to have to do a lot of starter quests before we'll be happy to build our permanent base, so this will have to do for now. So first things first, we've got to build Oswald a nice new house, so we can get some blacksmithing done. Which, I'll be honest, started small but might have slowly grown into a 50-minute project, but what can I say? The building in this game is pretty great. But finally, when we finish the blacksmiths, we've got to wait for the charcoal to be done in our nice new kiln. So we might as well waste some time and get some more resources. And it's a good time to test out our new glider, which is also sick. Oh man, this is cool. And for now, our main objective is to collect as much active mycelium as we can, and also some more shroud wood, and head home and hope the charcoal is done, so we can finally build the forge, which it is. And one forge later, and we've plopped it down and put it to work making some metal sheets, which is going to come in handy for a new shield and some better armor. And it's about this time when we finally notice the enhanced equipment section, because of course I'm blind, which allows you to use runes you get from slaying enemies to upgrade your weapons to higher levels. And I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of this in the future. Which brings us to maybe my most embarrassing realization. The shroud root from the other day can just be destroyed by any old axe. And after venturing back to the well and killing the boss again, yeah, I was right. God damn it, I'm an idiot. Come on though, the felling axe just sounds like a fancy version of an axe, right? But with that done, the flame tells us that Embervale can be reclaimed, and that we need to go to flame sanctuaries and flame shrines to do more. So we make some new trousers and our new shield, and after a little chat with Oswald, we have our next quest, to go to one of the massive spires in the distance. And in no time, we are back to the vault where we found Oswald, but we venture past and find our first flame shrine, acquiring a spark. And after scaling the hill to get to the spire, which I don't think's the correct way to do it, hey, it works, we enter the spire, which really is just a few basic puzzles with a few traps thrown in. But we reach the top where we speak to the flame again, telling us these ancient spires can be used as fast travel points all over the world, and will slowly reveal Embervale to us. So our path is laid ahead of us, but it would be rude not to glide off this massive tower, right? Which again, is awesome. But in no time, we're back at home, planning our next task, building some new armor. Well, some of it anyway, because we still can't make gloves or a helmet. Then it's finally time to strengthen the flame, which allows us to build in a larger area.
Are you sure about that?
And all we need is resin, which at this point I had no idea came from certain types of trees, so a wee bit of deforestation later, and we finally have 5 resin. And we finally strengthened the flame, which then told us something about 2 ancient obelisks, but we'll come back to those later. And for now, we level up some more, putting a lot of our points into Constitution, so we have much more health. Then it's time for another outing, and I have my eyes set on that village we saw the other day. So quick trip to the local spire, and let's Batman our way out of here. And after tons of time looting and exploring, we come across this majestic building, and this fella, who doesn't seem to mind us at all, but we have to shatter him apart anyways. And we head on in, searching the crypt beneath the church, finding a nice new staff, if we'll ever use this to be honest, and some of the skeleton's friends. Then also found a full set of noble clothing, which we definitely didn't just take off a corpse. Anyway, after looting the rest of the area, then realizing we have a quest here, something from a note we found in the world talking about buried treasure, which after not much looking at all, we get kind of a shitty ring from it. With the village completely explored, we head back and go to bed. With the next day started, we don't wait around. Yesterday I saw there was an elixir well nearby, so today we're conquering it. And after maybe the most epic entrance we've had so far... Oh, this is cool. This is so cool. We slaughter the locals and dive into the well, fighting off hordes of the enemies, then taking down the shroud room. And with the job done, we loot up and head home, where we enhance our trusty axe and look towards the next quests, awakening another survivor, the Hunter. And after a quick TP to the spire and a nice glide down, we're closing in on the vault, but do get distracted by a flint mine, and it would be rude not to get some mining in, which turns out to be very useful for getting materials and getting a lot of XP, allowing us to level up to level 4. Where we add our point into purification, which gives us shroud time back after defeating enemies, which is going to come in very useful. Then our 2 other points go into strength to increase our melee damage. Nice. But with our backpack stocked with flint, we carry on, finding another flame shrine on the way, and as the night falls, we bump into a full squad of shroud men. Yep, I'm calling them shroud men from now on. But with our new skills, we absolutely destroy them. Then finally, coming up to the vault, we do get a little bit confused when we bump into Yogi Bear here, which isn't too friendly, but luckily for me, he isn't very tough either, which also goes for his friends too. But with the new enemies taken care of, we head into the vault, dodging a few traps as usual, and grab our new survivor, the Hunter. But as the sun rises, I think it would be a waste of time just TPing home, especially with all this new land here to explore. So we use the glider to glide into the valley below, finding a camp of goods with a letter from the Queen Jasmina, giving us a new quest to find the Southern Caravan. But we'll have to look into that later. For now, there's one more thing we notice. A big fancy looking door next to the camp. And after investigation, we find out it's a night sanctuary, which can only be entered at night, weirdly enough. So we're definitely coming back here later. For now, we carry on, finding more of our bear friends down the road, which again don't put up much of a fight. Then finally at the bottom of the hill is an interesting looking tower, which of course has a couple scavengers squatting in it too. But after dispatching them, we loot up the tower, not really finding anything of note, but from the height of the tower decide on our final objective before heading home. And that is a local spire. As lucky for us, it isn't that far away. So a little running later, with a tiny fight with the locals, which by the way are starting to increase in level, we finally arrive at the spire. And after the normal traps and puzzles, we reach the top and acquire another fast travel point, then finally head back home, where the Flame is very happy we rescued the Hunter, and so are we when we find out we can make dried fur, which can then be used to make a bigger backpack, which gives us a whole new row to fill up with more loot, which we're going to instantly put to use right away, with another little excursion. And this time, we decide to head north, to see what we can find. And mid-flight decide to try and nibble on a mushroom, giving me a mini heart attack, but also it does lead us accidentally to discover a hidden tomb. And just a little heads up, if you don't like spiders, maybe don't go to these. After a fair bit of pest control later, we finally find the loot from some poor guy's coffin, which is just filled with a bunch of bone blocks. Okay, we are literally just grave robbers now. But after running away from our crime, we actually noticed we have ventured right towards a vault, so might as well rescue the farmer whilst we're at it. Just first, we have the jankiest fight with a pack of wolves, and then find the weirdest little village, populated by rats who just love to... But when looting the final houses, we find something very useful. Well, luckily because the previous owner just wrote down where he hid his treasure. But I don't mind, he's just given me a really nice new axe. But now to the vault, where I completed another set of puzzles with a good sprinkle of traps to get a nice new set of daggers. Oh, and of course to unlock the door to get the farmer. Then did stumble into a fight with some weird plants nearby and almost died to a trap, but we're okay. Now time to go back to base, where the hunter gives us a quest to go find her handle spindle, so then we can craft some pretty sick looking armor. We've definitely got to do that later. But for now, we use some of the items we've gathered to craft our first magic chest, which I thought was just going to have more spaces, but actually acts as a local storage for crafting, which is such a cool way to add this feature in. Then onto a good batch of cooking and a little rest before another day, where we head out again, and this time we're heading for another survivor, but get a little sidetracked exploring the local shroud, giving some good loot and XP, and fighting some extra weird things. Yeah, I don't have any idea what this is. What on earth have I just found? But it'd be rude not to loot it, I guess. And that's enough for now. Now to the vault, which doesn't take long, and of course our friends, the scavengers, are here again, which as per usual, wasn't too hard to deal with. And at this point, I'm pretty sure we're over leveled. But even after spending quite a few hours playing at this point, I realised something very painful. I've just been straight up deleting any old gear till now, and I just found out you can salvage them. Oh man, this one hurts. But anyways, we'll cry later. For now, we've got the alchemist. And before we head home, we spot a possible salt mine nearby, which we need to make more dried fur. So quick mining trip later and we're bursting with salt. Then back to base for our congratulations from the flame. And before I completely forget, like I have since I found it, let's go to the night sanctum. But first, let's carry on what I keep doing, grave robbing. Then speedrunning my way to the sanctum, I seemingly forget one of the basic features of the game, stamina. Okay, that's embarrassing. Second try, and we're finally here. But wait, is that a patrol? And is that a wolf of a backpack? Okay, last sidetrack, I promise. We finally enter the sanctum and this looks really cool. But to be honest, it was a little simple. Just another set of dodge the traps. Well, or walk straight through them if you're me. And the reward at the end was just a wand. So it's home time, I guess. And about time to salvage what's left of our old equipment and do a little bit of upgrading. Bringing our axe up to level 10, but now I think it's time to do something very important. I've been living in this pretty poor base till now, so time to move on. And I've got a little idea where to. In my head, this cliff right here would make a really sick base location. So for the next few hours, I spent my time getting resources and very slowly building up my little village. And I'll be honest, my base is nothing special, but for me and my little survivors, this is going to be home for now. And it's time for a tour. First off, the blacksmith's house. Pretty simple, but it has this little outdoor space for his work. Then there's the hunter's house, which has this cool looking tower on top because why not? And again, an area outside for drying fur. Then another simple house for the farmer, which has no farms yet, but I'm working on it. Then the final survivor house for now is the alchemist tower, which I'll be honest, took so long as I thought it looked a little bit funky, and it kind of still does, but oh well, it's good enough for now. Then last but not least, my house, which I made extra spacious for all the future items that I have no idea about yet. And we also have a nice upstairs and a balcony. And of course, a little fireplace for our cooking. And that's the end of the tour. Now time to get to it, as we've got a lot of adventuring to do if I ever want to finish this game. But before that, we need to take some time to do some of the management, quickly sorting loot into chests and giving our axe its final upgrade. Then on to questing. So we speak to the old alchemist Balthazar, who gives us tons of quests to dive into. So let's mark it down. First, we've got another vault with a survivor, the carpenter. Then we've got some knowledge about something called the eternal spells. And finally, Balthazar told us about these gems the ancestors used for augmentation, which you can put inside your weapons. So we're definitely getting that one. Then we also speak to the farmer that gives us more quests around farming and visiting another spire. But now our quest list is starting to look pretty long. So of course, I had to take a little break and put down some nice flower beds. Because you know, the base has got to look pretty. But now, back to business. The first quest on our list to tackle is retrieving the hunter's hand spindle. What the hell is a hand spindle? Oh, that's what it is. Okay, let's go. And after venturing halfway there, we realise there's an elixir well right here. So we've got to deal with that first. But this might be the first time in a while that we're starting to fight some monsters that are getting close to our level. So the fighting gets a little bit more interesting, except from the bugs that, as always, are just cannon fodder. And after clearing the outside, we head in and prepare to fight to the root. which to be honest is a little more difficult with one of the big guys from the first Elixir well with a sprinkle of Shroudmen as well. So things get a little bit dicey, but in the end we come out on top. And destroy the root. Then take our time killing the leftover enemies and gathering up the loot, which doesn't take too long. Then we can finally get back to doing our quest, which of course is populated with scavengers. But it's all good, they instantly provide me with a level up to level 7. So we head to the buildings, looting what we can, or taking out some of the enemies. Then finally find a clue for the quest, leading us out to the village, finding a nice new mace, and then finding out the hand spindle isn't even here. Oh god, this quest is going to take forever. We take out our frustrations on some of the poor Shroudmen nearby, and seems like they had a big battle with some scavengers as well. So, lots of loot. Now it's time to head home, and put our new skill points into Merciless Attack, which just sounds really sick. Then the leftover point into more melee cutting damage to boost up our axe. Then take a few moments to organise our chest situation, followed with a spot of cooking, and another bombardment of quests from Balthazar. Jesus, this guy is needy. But the next quests are pretty interesting. One is to wipe out a scavenger camp to get some new gear, and the other is just another reminder to go fight the Shroud as normal. But the scavenger camp is pretty close by and the new gear does sound really nice. So after a quick nap, we head out in the morning, finding a new flame shrine on the way, then arriving at the camp. And now it's game time. And as per usual, we are over leveled, so sorry guys, I promise this will get more challenging soon. But with the camp clearing out, we find a note saying the scavengers have been experimenting and making something called the Gorger, which I'm pretty sure is what we're hearing above me right now. But let's be honest though, I've been walking through enemies, so this is probably going to be really easy. And within a couple seconds, we realise I am dead wrong. With my serious lack of poison resistance, we're losing health fast. And we're even running low on health potions. So, Hail Mary it is. Okay, that was a little closer than I would like, but we loot the spoils, getting a weird helmet and finding a chest with a legendary wand. Sorry, I won't be using this. We are full melee. But the quest is done. Now we can make a new grappling hook. Nope, we can't. We need the carpenter. Next quest. Just first to drop off the loot we've got, then take a leisurely walk down to the carpenter, whose vault is not like the others. Firstly, this one's in the Shroud, and populated by a fair few enemies, including these weird eye things that we fought the other day, but with all them dealt with, we encounter our first new enemy. These screaming banshees, which honestly give me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. Whoa! Whoa! What the hell is that? But after awkwardly fighting them off, we get to the carpenter and wake him from his slumber. Now time to get home, but there is a building right here, so it would be a shame to miss out on the loot. So quick loot run later, and honestly we didn't find too much except from this cool lantern. But just as we're about to leave, this shrouded area over here looks a little extra weird. So we have to check it out. And what would you know, there's a shroud root just sitting there. Very weird. Well, we destroy that and get out of there, and of course on arrival back home, we've got to debrief with the Flame, who has tons to say, but long story short, good job, keep it up. And now to place down the Carpenter, which instantly levels us up, and the Carpenter instantly collapses. And after waking him up, we get our new grappling hook. And honestly, he has tons of stuff to craft, but we'll leave old Cade here to nap for a while, whilst we use our new skill point, putting one into endurance for more stamina, and one into run, to make us run faster and use less stamina. Then take a short break, flexing my building muscles, by making a nice area to hang our new lanterns from. Very nice. Then I just ponder for a while, wondering what to do next whilst cooking. As with all these survivors, the quest list is getting a little bit long, so I think it's time we sped this up a little bit. First, we complete our first set of armor and enhance our bow, then it's time to go. First quest. We have to go and check out this camp owned by the bears, but of course, on the way, we see an opportunity to finish another quest, goats. The farmer wants me to get a few goats to make our farm a little less empty, so we yoink a few goats, then head into the camp, finding a worrying note talking about something called the Brawler, which we instantly encounter. What on earth is that? Then have an epic boss fight. In the end, we come out on top. then loot up getting a trophy, and also loot a corpse nearby, and we retrieve a soul? Okay, maybe I didn't read this quest properly, but no time to rest, we've got another quest to do. And next up, our first Flame Sanctum, which really is just a flame shrine with a couple of enemies nearby, so nothing too exciting. Then next on the list, the Eternal Spell, whatever that is. So we dive into this tomb, fight off some skelly boys, and get our hands on a skeleton summoning vessel, which is pretty sick. But for now, more questing. And this time we're out to find a missing trader. But whilst bolting there, I encounter my nemesis. This lava thingy right here, which as soon as you touch, destroys your shroud timer, and you die. Brutal. You'll see more of this soon, believe me. But after retrieving our loot again, we find the missing trader, or what's left of her, and we do grab her soul as well. I guess we're just collecting souls now. Now on to our massive quest, and one I'm very excited to try, the Gem Forge, which doesn't take us long to find, but we can't use it yet, as we actually need a gem to socket. So we've got to go hunt one down. But luckily there's one nearby, so thank you quest. And the gem is somewhere inside this shroud layer. So we start making our way through, killing and looting as we go, just for our nemesis to come and ruin all the fun. And I think my raw reaction says it all. What? And now to run all the way back. God. And this is the moment the shroud lava becomes the worst thing in the game. First, running back, I get stuck on an island and die to the lava. Second run back, I run to the layer and die to the lava. Third run back, and we finally make it to our stuff. Oh, thank God. And this is the thing that killed me in the first place. Come on. Anyways, let's move on before I rage. We kill the final enemy of the layer and get our first gem, a gem of bleeding. And after carefully leaving the layer and returning to the Gem Forge, we level up the gem to level 10 and put it in our new sword, as our trusty axe doesn't have a slot. Then before we leave, we have a local Flame Sanctum, getting us another level up. Then finally to head home. With our sword now having a gem, time to max it out with all our runes. And ideally, right now I'd like to sort out the carpenter with a house, and also upgrade the base with all our new additions, but the carpenter did have a quest for a new building block, so maybe we do that first. The only problem is, it is a little far away, but screw it. We always have time for another adventure, so time to glide as far as we can, and honestly, why not explore along the way? Namely this massive shroud right ahead of us, as it definitely looks like something is hidden, which it is. Another Gem Forge, when we've literally just gone halfway across the map to find a different one. Oh well, at least we have one for the future. And before we leave the shroud, we clear out another area, getting some really nice loot drops. Another gem, I don't know what my luck is right now, which does fire damage, so we might have to add that one to our bow. We also get a new swanky ring, which does lifesteal, so we obviously throw that one on. And finally, we're out of the shroud and into a new area, which honestly looks so nice, especially with the roads. But the niceness doesn't last long, as we're back into the shroud again. This time finding the Alchemist Tower, which we do have a few quests in, so why not? And we start to notice enemies are getting a little harder. Especially this big guy with the shield, he was honestly like a little mini boss. But I'll be honest, it was a welcome challenge. And we got rewarded with some nice new boots, which we'll be throwing on as well. And we finally get into the Alchemist Tower, which has a pretty bad rat problem, but also does have a little cat, which I completely forgot the alchemist mentioned, so oh my god, we need him. But of course, we didn't bring any cat bait, so we'll have to come back another time. And for now, we finish off a little puzzle and grab Balthazar's mortar. Then it's finally onto the building blocks, until we see this weird light through the trees. What is that? Oh, it's a cave. And upon entry, we find out it's a lumen-like cave. So we try to mine this weird stuff off the walls, and hit the smallest area ever of Deadly Shroud, and insta-die. Huh? Come on guys, this is a little brutal. So after another long run back, we try and understand what the hell just happened, just to get stuck and die again. Okay, now I'm pissed. This time I came back and steered clear of that whole area, and I do explore the cave a little bit, just finding some boars, which is great for meat, but I do get stuck in the lower area with a shroud route I can't reach because of Deadly Shroud, which to be honest is the only thing in this game I'm starting to dislike. The Deadly Shroud and the lava area from earlier, it just seems a little bit unnecessary. I feel like the level of enemies should stop players pushing too far too fast, not some unexplorable fog. Anyways, moan over, just something I found, and finally find the most awkward way out. And after that whole ordeal, I'm grabbing myself a cat. On one of the times I ran back, I got me some bait. So, meet Tiger. Yep, now I'm happy. And time to head home and drop off the loot we have so far. Also, I think I might need to relax for a bit, as the journey has got me on edge. So why not take this time to build up our base and add in our animals. But first, we'll make a place for Balthazar's mortar, and we might as well put the cat bowl here too. And I quite like how this looks. Then we also put the bed here, and of course release the cat, which Balthazar is very happy with. But on to the next task, the farm, which was a little janky with putting down the farm soil, but in the end we made it look pretty cool, with these nice walls around it too. Then we move on to the goats, beginning to fence off the area so they don't just yeet themselves off the cliff, and make them a nice little barn. Then throw down their food and finally add them to our base. And this is really starting to feel like home. We got goats. And also now we have the mortar placed, we can finally start crafting some potions. So we fill up on health potions, as we still need to head north for those building blocks. So we head out again, deciding to quickly kill the boss from earlier, this time going very well, and getting some really nice legendary daggers. But we carried on through the land, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't get instantly distracted again, this time with a weird place called Pikemead Catacombs, which had me running around looking for switches to open a door. And after a lot of looting and killing, we get all the switches and make our way into the tomb. And from looting yet another coffin, we've acquired a legendary shield, Pikemead's Bulwark. Not as good as blocking as the basic shield, but this does give us a shroud resistance, so it's a no-brainer. But continuing our journey north, we follow the road, and at this point, no surprise again, we get distracted, but at least this time it's an elixir well, so we can't just leave it. And I promise, this will be quick. Just got to mess up these guys. And after messing them up with a bow, time to get to it. And that was the biggest fight we've had so far. And damn, there's bodies everywhere. But then we take out the root, then with our extra skill point, grab the double jump skill. That will come in very handy. Then finally head out. See, I told you I'd be quick. Then after a lot more traveling, it's gotten dark, but we're closing in on our quest. The only thing is, this area is starting to seem a little less friendly than the places we've been before, so we better be careful. But we push on over the bridge into a new land, killing a few scavengers on the way, then finding an entrance to another Lumabite cave. And after the last one, yeah, I'm good for now. And after looking around, I think it's probably best to first get to the spire, so we can finally fast travel here instead of running up here forever. But of course, it's on a massive cliff above us. So now we've got to find our way up, but instead find a weird shroud area full of bugs. And of course, when messing around fighting them, for some reason I jumped down a pit and died. After all the distance we've gone just to die like that. So of course, a big run back again and retrieve our items. God help me. And I think honestly at this point, I've had enough. So I resorted to brute force, slowly mining my way up the side of a cliff to get to the top. And okay, I know this is a little bit cheesy, but hey ho, it got me to the top. And finally we get to the spire, which you guessed it, has an assortment of traps. This time though, there is some added fireballs to contend with too, along with the normal spike traps of course. But we get to the top and we have finally discovered Revelwood, which honestly for now can wait, as I just want to go home, and decided to change up our armor for one we just found, which I don't know if I'm vibing with completely, but I like the stats. Then we just take some time to chill after the last ordeal, and as a new day starts, we decide to go finish what we started and finally get those building blocks. And of course, a quick hello to the cat, what gives us a little boost, and we're off, fighting our way through boars into the carpenter's camp, and finally finding the half timber blocks. Then as the blacksmith chest quest is nearby, we might as well do that too, which does confuse me for a bit until I realise we have to do it. Then decide we've had enough of Revelwood, so we head home. Then I think it's about time we actually build Cade a house, as he's been sleeping on the floor now for a few days. So we build him a pretty simple house with some nice half timber flooring, and at least now we can use him for crafting. Then decide to summon the 2 souls from earlier, who of course have more quests for us, and honestly for now they'll just have to wait for a house, as once again we're back out adventuring, trying to make a dent in this massive list of quests. So we head southwest to see what quests we can complete. Our first find being a flame sanctum, then not long after that a hidden shroud room, which is easily destroyed. Venturing further, we stumble into an ancient obelisk. I'm pretty sure one of the 2 that was mentioned by the flame a while ago, which to be honest at this point I can't even remember what they were meant to do, but we found it. Then finally, after climbing higher into the mountains, we found our main objective, the Hollow Halls, a massive dungeon filled with skeletons. And right on cue, we level up to level 11, which we put our points into Veteran. That gives us 10% more critical hit chance, which will come in very useful for this dungeon. But to be honest, as we're going through, I kind of expected more enemies, as at first there was just some small packs of them and I expected there to be tons. Then as I delved deeper into the dungeon, fighting through the skellies, who were still a pretty good challenge, but as I carried on, I started to find some messages to us. Someone asking for us to help them. Signed, your new friend. Very weird. Anyways, we carry on, getting our first taste of the massive enemies I expected, and luckily we made it through. Damn, having some friends would be pretty good right now. And speaking of friends, we find another note from our new friend, then reach another checkpoint. And I'm getting the feeling we're getting close to the end, which is almost confirmed by the amount of enemies, which becomes a little bit overwhelming to battle. We manage all the same, mainly taking them back to the bridge to funnel them. And when I thought we might have been done with the enemies, this happens. What the fuck? Why is there so many? And to be honest, at this point, there's no tactics, just fun. Which comes down to these last two big boy skeletons, and to be honest, I was on the ropes, but scraped through and killed the remaining skeletons, finding the Hollow Hall blocks, and finally killing the last enemy and letting us out of the dungeon. But first, we find our new friend, this Skelly boy, which is kind of weird, but pretty cool as well. And then we get to the dungeon reward and another legendary bow. But time to head home for our well-earned rest. Okay, that's enough. Now I think it's about time we start advancing a little more. And right now, something that's super holding us back is the survivor quests. Not this huge list of normal ones we have, I mean the item quests we've been ignoring. Ones like the hand spindle, the blacksmith's crucible, and the carpenter's table saw. All of these items could skyrocket our character's strength. And speaking of strength, we upgrade our new skull bow to get it to level 15. Then we're heading out. First stop, Revelwood, with the aim of getting that crucible for the blacksmith. Then we can smelt copper to make tons of new items, which of course is protected by scavengers like everything in this game, and is quite nicely situated in an old copper mine. So would be rude not to. Then exploring further, we find the crucible behind a very explodable mound of mud, so first objective done. Just spend a little bit more time clearing out some of the scavengers who are getting tougher with these new enemies. Okay, he was actually pretty tough. But now on to our next quest of getting the carpenter's saw, which takes us back over the terrifying Deadly Shroud and through the woods to another camp, which should hold the saw. But before we enter, we notice some materials we haven't seen yet. Clay, which we need for bricks, and I'm sure tons of items as well. So take a while picking that clean before the pickaxe breaks. Now time to get that saw, which of course is protected by scavengers as well. So we scour through the camp, taking out scavengers as we go, including another one of those scavenger bosses. But no saw blade, it's actually down the road. But in our searching, we did find something. A very cute doggo. But I have nothing to get him yet, so had to break my heart and leave him there for now. Then we head home just to drop off some loot, then we can carry on with our quest later. For now, we speak to the blacksmith, getting the typical response, thanks mate, then find out we need bricks to make the smelter, which we haven't done yet. So after a very confusing look at the charcoal kiln, we finally realise we can craft one with the carpenter. But now we're running out of space for the blacksmith. So a small renovation later, and we have plenty of space for the future. And placing down the kiln and loading it with clay and wood to make the bricks. But this might take some time, so spend some time strengthening the flame, as all we need is shroudwood, flintstone, and mycelium, which are all super easy to acquire, so this doesn't take long. And we strengthen the flame to level 3, which will now allow us to venture into the shroud and Revelwood, and also survive longer in the fog. But of course, the bricks still aren't done, so time to finish the carpenter saw quest. Flying over the now not so deadly shroud, and finding the quest location. But we have some fun shooting some explosive barrels, then jump in to finish off the scavengers. And finally finding the saw blade, accompanied with another gorger. So swiftly take her out and head home. Straight away grabbing the bricks and building that smelter. Then popping it down and throwing in some charcoal and copper to get it going, which again is going to take a while, so onto the table saw. So we trap the carpenter in a corner and craft the saw, placing it outside and filling it with as much wood as we can to make into planks. Now all there really is to do is wait. So we chat with the survivors who have all sorts of quests for us, then with some of the smelted copper, craft a new copper axe and pickaxe. Then it's time to head out and get the hunter's hand spindle, where we have to head back to Revelwood, then into a cave which is filled with loads of our 8-legged friends. But it doesn't take us long to find the hand spindle. Then as I think it's time to leave, I think we've stirred the spider nest. If that's even a thing. But these bugs don't stand a chance. I'm a veteran helldiver. But of course, as we finish off these pests, we get another quest, a cure for hemotoxin. Something I presumably got from the last fight. It's okay, we'll speak to Balthazar when we get home. But first, we place down the hand spindle, putting it to work making linen. Then when we speak to the hunter, she of course tells us about a potential good boy in the Revelwood area. Yep, we've definitely already seen him. And now, we're going to grab him. Just first to sort out the poison, and after speaking to Balthazar, it is as simple as curing it out of moth wings, which for some reason, I've already been collecting, so we're cured. Well, that was easy. But as with everything in this game, it all comes at once. Remembering we can craft a better glider with the carpenter, so we quickly mark down what we need. Then quickly to whip up some dog bait, because we're getting that puppy. So here's the plan. Firstly, we get the doggo, then we head down to the shroud and get our new glider items. But of course, our plan gets all kind of messed up, where the camp where the dog is chilling has respawned. And with my massive ego, I think I can take them all on at once, which after minutes of running away is proven I cannot take them all on. Okay, attempt 2. This time, we take a quieter approach and grab our boy, Ruffles. But now to avenge my ego, which I may say I do magnificently. So, objective 1 done. Now to the shroud, where I only need shroud sacks. So after taking a peek around, we find the plants that drop them, and head home. Straight away grabbing all the items I need to make Ruffles feel at home, then place his bed and bowl in my house, of course. And finally, we have a woofer. Oh, and of course, we make the glider and level up our character with more constitution and strength. But mainly, Ruffles, who I think is causing me to want to stay home, as for a while after, we just put work into the base, trying to build a new house for a villager, and why not use some bricks. But after trying to mix it up with our poopy stone, yes, these don't match. So we're going full brick, which of course means a clay mining trip, where we fill up on clay, then drop it all off in the kiln. And why not, whilst we wait, get some copper too, which gives us a lot less copper, but hey ho, still got some. Then we finish off the new house, which still looks a little bit out of place, but we can fix that later. And now to add the newest survivor to the base, if you can call him that. And for Skelly Boy here, I've got a unique base idea. I really like the idea of making a tunnel under our base that comes out by the cliff below, and we can make Skelly Boy's house down there. So we dig a huge hole and begin to place down the hollow blocks from the other day just to make him feel at home, and try out some new luminescent blocks to light up down here, which I really like. And of course, our new edition has a ton of new quests, which all sound a little bit spooky. Then as I'm on a roll, I throw down another basic house too, but with some building done. I'll be honest, the quest list is freaking me out. There are too many quest markers, so here's the plan. We are going full on quest grind mode. But first to kit out with some new gauntlets and boots. Then, let's go. And first stop is the Low Meadows, which I haven't really explored much, well, unless you count the bunch of deaths there the other day. But we venture into the Shroud, finding another Night Sanctum, which like the last one is a little bit disappointing, with a bunch of traps and a gem forge that I can't use. Followed by a very easy Shroud because I'm over leveled for this area, but then do find something very interesting. This weird growth thing that will conjure fell enemies. Oh, you have my attention. But we need a shroud core, so I'll do that soon. And obviously the game heard me because somehow I flew through the world and got teleported back to the start of the game. Huh? Okay, well, we'll get the shroud core now then. And upon returning, the enemies it spawns are kind of just basic enemies. Oh well, we carry on adventuring, heading north out of the shroud, finding another ancient obelisk. Still no idea what these actually do. And whilst looting a small village in the area, we find one of the best items. New building blocks. Roughly cut stone. Oh my god. So I guess soon, we're gonna do a lot more base building. But for now, we follow a quest called Celebrate the Pact of the Flame, which gives me some new drip. Damn, I look good. And with our new look, we find probably the biggest town I've seen so far. Like literally, they had a full sewer system. But in the end, the town didn't really hold much good loot. So we headed to the next big area nearby, an elixir well. So time to get our hands dirty, fighting a big bug and a lot of small ones too. But with her dealt with, we cut down the route and get on our way. Heading home to drop off the loot so far, but with how well the Low Meadows excursion went, time to get Springlands done too. So we head to all the little question marks on the map, finishing off all the Shroud routes in Springlands, even getting a little achievement. Yep, top 19% baby. And wiping out a Shroud layer whilst we're here. We did also find 2 massive structures that just don't seem to open, so maybe they're for later in the game or something. But for now, we've blasted through the southwest of Springlands, and finally it's looking free from quests. Can't say the same for the rest of the map though. Now time to add that new nice looking stone to the base. And as I need rubble to craft more, I head back to one of the starting zones and start mining. But soon think I'm big brain and come up with a better way of getting the blocks, just to find out later it's a lot easier just to craft them. Oh. Well, that feels stupid now. But with our new building blocks, we go a little bit ham upgrading some of the buildings, and damn, got to say, it does look good. But then I think it's about time to venture north again to Revelwood, where we clear a couple of the few basic quests, including taking out more of the scavengers, who this time I destroy.
He's beginning to believe.
Well, we absolutely just rinsed him, whoa. Which also comes with me realizing I've gained tons of skill points and not used any of them. So max out the warrior skill tree, grabbing swift blades to attack faster, and grabbing the last constitution node. A little while later, we find ourselves venturing into a cave called Rind Teeth Grotto. And what would you know? It's housing a shroud room, which by this point, we are pros at cutting down and get rewarded with a very sick looking shield. And now I just remembered I never told you about the other shield I got, but oh well, new one. But with our victory, we head home for a little bite to eat. Oh, no! Oh, misclick, but it's okay. Fixed. With the drama over, back to Revelwood, where we find weird balls and mine a new material called Amber, which gives us a cheeky level up, allowing us to get a skill called Battle Heal, which you'll soon see is very overpowered. Then back to a little bit of shroud grinding, as we need some materials for home, so we can build some new bigger magic chests. Nice. But now actually back to Revelwood, where we find another ancient obelisk, then back to the Shroud, where we find out Shroud Revelwood is no joke. And after a little Shroud exploring, we head out, deciding to destroy a scavenger camp from the other day because why not? Which was kind of lucky because I found a building block that I've never seen before. But then on to more quests in the area, but mainly this one here to help find a hidden hunting ground, which I'll be honest, I ran around trying to find for way too long, then got bored, so I went to do these night sanctums instead, where the first one gave me a new survivor and the second one just gave me crappy underleveled gear. Then heading back to town near the hidden hunting grounds, thinking I must be missing something, to then find another soul, then get fed up and just climb over the cliff anyway. And of course, just to see there's literally an opening from the other side this whole time. Oh, I'm a dummy. But at least we get another obelisk. Now the Revelwood questing continues. First heading back to the deadly Lumenlight cave from a few days back, which thank God we can explore now, and destroy the Shroud room. Then realise I have a quest nearby with a sword as a reward, so quick tear through some Shroud men and a tiny bit of grave robbing later, and we've got this crazy looking sword called the Hail Scourge, which we have to upgrade and stock it with a gem soon. But for now, back to the Revelwood Shroud, where we take on a dungeon which soon turns into chaos. With the final room of the dungeon, we had to fight a bunch of Shroud men, including 2 big boys, and we just get overwhelmed and end up falling. But weirdly not for long, as for some reason I just got back up. Wait, pause. Okay, this was weird, but looking back at it now, the only thing I can imagine is happening is a weird mix of my new Battle Heal skill and my Life Leech ring, as for some reason as I die, they revive me with health I get from the crits or Life Leech, so I'm basically immortal. Crazy. But this goes on for a little while, me running away in an extremely dark hallway, and this weirdly small arena, then getting hammered by all the AI enemies at once. So we run away for a second and just close the door. Right, a little breather. And now, let's do this. First isolating one of the big guys, then fighting off the rest. Jesus, this was messy. And honestly, our first super hard fight. I mean, I did die literally like 5 times, but we move on. Leaving the dungeon, then finding a massive shroud layer underground, filled with tons of these archaic essences that we use for the gems. So of course, we fill up as much as we can. Then finally head home, where we place down our new survivors and the souls we've collected, one being a barber who can actually change our looks, but we keep it the same for now. And with new survivors means more building, so we expand a little, building a new house, then get a little carried away with upgrading previous houses, which takes us quite a while, but this place is really coming along. But with our sidetrack stage out of the way, now to finally strengthen the flame to level 4. But there's a lot of items we need, so next task is to get everything on this list. Starting with goo, which we need shroud mushrooms for, so straight to Revelwood Shroud for some grinding. And what would you know, another one of the items we need is sat right there. Corrupted tusks. Sorry cool looking boars, this isn't personal. But with a lot more mushrooms and another boar, we head out of the shroud on the hunt for another item we need, indigo plants, which to be honest would have been a lot easier to find in the daylight, but who am I to tell past me what to do? And by pure chance we somehow find a hidden flame shrine that actually gives us 2 sparks, which we also need for the upgrade. Damn, it's all coming together. And after the sun finally comes up, what would you know, we start to find the indigo plants, and a lot of them. So we head home to check on our progress, where we've already got enough indigo plants and sparks, and after we craft some goo, we'll almost be there. Just need some more corrupted tusks, then the final item, a fell wisp wyvern's head. That sounds big, but before we get to that, a spot of chill cooking, and we decide to finally upgrade this gnarly looking hail scourge sword from the other day, which gives the sword some beefy looking stats. But we follow this up with the most epic entrance we've done so far. Yeah, brother. Then add a gem that adds blunt damage after blocking. Even better. But now to venture out and find me a wyvern. And first stop, the Revelwood Shroud again. To finish off the corrupted tusk gathering, then time to put our new shroud sword to the test, with a few more kitted shroud men. And damn, they didn't stand a chance. But carry on our search outside of the shroud, finding a tomb where the poor skelly boys don't stand a chance either, and get rewarded with a colour palette for the colour station, which we haven't even made yet. But it's about time we return to our favourite place, the shroud, where there's a shroud root precariously placed under this massive bridge, but we can't just destroy the shroud root, we need to fight his friends too, which happens to be this big guy right here, who thanks to our new sword, doesn't stand a chance. For now, we clear out the rest of the shroud men, getting us a level up. Then we carry on to a hill above an elixir well, where we decide to place down a sort of forward base, then we can go home, drop off our loot, then come back. Where we decide to dive into the elixir well, where we take out a good amount of enemies, then we head to the root where we are greeted with 2 big shroud men who almost get me with a double slam, but in the end we come out on top, destroying the root and getting even more skill points, so we pick up the jump attack skill, which is very epic. As we carry on onto our quest to find the wyvern, we are coming up on a huge cluster of quests, which seems to be a massive town infested with the shroud. So we might be on the right track. We start to venture through the town, killing enemies as we go, and start to find a set of armor called the Guard of the North, which looks very nice, so we've got to find all of them. And carrying on our conquest, we quickly get humbled by a group of enemies who literally destroyed my health, so we've got to be more careful. Continuing with caution, fighting the enemies who killed me before, then another big boy shroud. Damn, this place is no joke. So we continue on, completing any quests we can, destroying shroud roots, and fighting off tons of enemies with random weapons. Because this place is so big, I've used both of my weapons already. But luckily, we find an anvil to repair our equipment, even finding more pieces of that cool looking armor. Then level up, getting a skill to help with our weapon durability, but with the main part of the town cleared, there's one place left to check. And this to me looks like a boss arena. So here goes nothing. And we've done it. We've defeated the Wisp Wyvern, and we've got his head for the flame. What a fight. Then after searching the castle, we find the last piece of the Guard of the North armor, and I think we've conquered the city. All that's left to do is head home, strengthen the flame to level 4, and of course try on our new armor. Damn! And that's where our adventure for now ends. With our little village thriving, but with room to grow, and for now the world around us has been tamed. But there is plenty still out there. So if you want to see more of Enshrouded, let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe.